Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by the players, for the players. Ion Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ion Icon, the episode where we bring you the news around the Icon ecosystem, and with me as always is Icongrapher. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Yeah, good man, good. It was good. We had a nice long discussion about various things before this episode, so I feel like we're all caught up and the podcast is done. Yeah,
Yeah, we
no,
should have been recording during it and just maybe taking out the greatest hits, but
that's right. We
oh
should
well.
have. Yeah, so something's got to stay, behind the curtain.
Yeah,
Exclusive token
exactly.
holders' rights.
Yep.
Um, oh, look, we had the sessions yesterday. If you're listening to this, it hasn't been uploaded yet. It will. I have to still edit it. But news is important in terms of we've got to get it out. But at the same time, one of the conversations was it you who someone said that apparently when we record these sessions, the community sessions, the price of ICX tanks.
I
Well,
think it was Geodude.
was it? Okay, yeah,
I
Geo.
think
Well,
so.
this one's for you. Haha, look at it. It was I think $1.89.80 or something like that. And today we're up to $2.15. So the sessions helped, I say.
Yeah. Well, it's been obviously, it's kind of funny. I think since we've recorded last, we had that one instant where, I think we were hovering around like somewhere in the mid 150s, 160s, something like that. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, I like go check my phone, and I thought I had like a glitch or something because it said 210 or something like that. And sure enough, I don't know what happened or what the catalyst was, but it was pretty violently upward price movement. So I know that got a lot of people excited, and obviously I think it went up to 228 or something.
Yeah.
Obviously came back down. I think it fell all the way back to at one point like the 180s, kind of when the market took a bit of a dip when Bitcoin, after the fake Litecoin Walmart news, Bitcoin dipped all the way to like 43 or something like that. But I think that was kind of the low, and then since then we've just kind of had a nice, I would say, healthy price movement uptick up. So we obviously, we retraced pretty hard after that big green candle, but we've been just kind of steadily marching in an upward direction. There's a lot of we've had kind of instances like this in the past where we would get our hopes up because ICX kind of out of nowhere would all of a sudden just start pumping,
Mm.
and kind of out of sync with the rest of the market and out of sync with kind of what was going on and things like that. And sometimes these things just do happen. Everyone's kind of like, well, what was the news? And, oh, some guy in Korea said this and something like that. And it's usually just, sure enough, it pumps and then it sits there for a second, pulls back, and then just gradually kind of bleeds out back to where we kind of started from. So those are obviously, I think the best example of that is, we were at 10, we bottomed at like 10 or 11 cents, and then we started climbing over the next couple of months. I think we shot up all the way to 65 cents. Everyone got really excited. And then right before, I think that was like the leading into 2020. And then we, sank back down to the 20s or 30s or something like that. Granted, we went up from there, but I guess point being is, I tweeted about this a little bit, but, now we have, it used to be even like 18 months ago before kind of DeFi took off, we had, people bought tokens because it was like, oh, I'm buying this token because I think it's going to be like used with someday, right? It was all, most of everything was pretty much entirely speculative. Like there was some stuff on Ethereum that made sense to use it, but even like Uniswap wasn't really a thing yet. I think the only DeFi around was like Compound, but not many people used it. I think MakerDAO was there too, but not many people used it. So everyone buying tokens, it was all about speculation, and there wasn't much driving that actual kind of like demand. I need this token to do X. It was more, I want this token because I think in the future people will need it to X, right? And then DeFi summer hit, of course, and everything started going back up again gradually. But obviously, Ethereum got some good traction. Gas fees started going kind of crazy because a lot of people were using it. But now we're at the point where we're seeing more and more chains have a lot more actual uses on them, primarily in DeFi and NFTs, to where people want to be on that chain because that chain offers, a DeFi product they want to use, a really high yield, maybe an interesting tokenomics model that, correlates with those things. And so people are actually buying tokens because it's not just, oh, I think this is gonna be good someday. It's like, I want to use, someone told, I learned about this DeFi application on Luna or Phantom or Solana or whatever, and it looks like it's easy to use and you get a great yield from it. So I want to go put my money there. So I'm gonna go buy some Solana so I can do that, or buy some Luna or whatever. And I think now that we have, we obviously had balanced launch, in retrospect, ideally the worst time from a market standpoint. Not that they could have planned for that, but that's just kind of how it happened. And then also Ohm launching it probably the inverse of that, the kind of an ideal market standpoint, because it started really rising as soon as Ohm basically launched. So people, now there's people, you look on DeFi Llama and stuff like that, and you can see, we're in the ball game as far as having ways to, simply holding ICX. You don't have to simply hold ICX and just stare at it and hope it goes up. You can actually take it and use it to get, I think our yields on certain own pools are still in like the 900%, maybe a little lower than that right now. But there's all sorts of strategies you have now in order to earn yield, and there's also both in terms of the amount of money you can make, but also correlating risk too, right? If you don't want to take on a whole lot of risk, it's super easy to just deposit ICX into the loan supply column on Ohm, and you'll still earn a pretty decent yield just loaning out your tokens and just letting them do their thing. You can stake your Ohm for a good return. You can take on a little more risk and do work, serve in the LP pools, all this stuff you can do on balance. So I guess the way I look at the price movement, and this is obviously the optimistic take at it, and I could be proven wrong in 3 days if we retrace back to 150 or something. But I think people are there's more in organic intrinsic demand for ICX now because there's actually ways it provides value more than just holding it and hoping it goes up. And obviously we've only got 2 protocols right now, obviously more on the way, and more of a lot of other stuff on the way too. So certainly exciting times, and hopefully we can continue that upward momentum.
Yeah, agree. I got nothing else to add. It comes down to utility. It's not just token go up anymore. If you're exploring the ecosystem, you start to realize, with Balance and Ohm, there's stuff to do, and Craft, and soon Optimus and Gangster Bet about to launch as well. So there's a financial, there's fun, there's all kinds of things to do. So it starts creating the need to actually have ICX to do things, because obviously it's everything you do needs ICX on the in the Icon ecosystem. So yep, prices, that huge pump was some news that broke in South Korea, gave this ridiculous pump, but it leveled, and it's good to see we bounced back from there. Cool. I think that's good. That's what comes from here. Well, I know in the sessions we were talking about equities, so let's hope the normal markets hold as well, because that seems to be been climbing and climbing. May need a reset. Who knows? But anyway, for the moment, let's enjoy the good times. Let's jump into the news iconographer, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something I hadn't really anticipated, so it was a nice little surprise. But there is a new bounty program called Ep67 that it's live now. They have a website and everything, and what it is essentially it is a bounty program, but dealing toward content generation, education, stuff like that. So what it is basically, I think there's at the launch, I think there's 5 or 6 different opportunities people have for either if you create a video explaining how to do certain things on Ohm, if you create a chart showing the various advantages as far as BTP versus other cross-chain technologies, things like that, you have a chance to earn up to 500 BNUSD for doing that. And there's second and third places as well, which I think is like 300 and 150. So if you're talented in that manner, as far as being able to produce videos and things like that, and are willing to take the time to research some of this stuff and have a better understanding of it, you don't have to just do it kind of for free now. And so there will be kind of, it's a bit subjective as far as who gets awarded the best as first place and things like that, but it's certainly, I think, worth a shot doing. and it sounds, I think Fez, if he wanted to, could totally dominate some of the video creation things because he's already been doing it. But he was mentioning to me that he'd prefer to let New Blood kind of get a shot at it and things like that. So certainly generous of him in that regard, I would say.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, no, look, it's so the rewards are 350 for first, 150, and the best part is it's BNUSD, so it's utilizing our stablecoin. It's a cool initiative. I've seen this kind of thing rolled out in other chains, and it attracted a lot of talent, and that was the goal here as well. So it's great to see this finally come to fruition. And yeah, look, again, these bounties, there's quite a few of them. Some of them, I'm really excited to see what comes out from the BTP and Icon 2.0 perspective. They have longer time frames, and there's all kinds of things you can do for it. If you haven't, please explore it. This is the community's opportunity to promote it outside, to get people to explore it and do some writing and create video content, etc. So yeah, I could sit there, but that's not. I want more people to look at Icon, so hopefully we get a bit of traction with this. But it's great to see the foundation take this on. Look, and one thing to call out as well is this. This was suggested to the foundation, to Scott and co, and they really took it on and said, yes, it's a great idea, and ran with it and created all this and tied it back to the relevance of the Ep67 is, I believe, 57 resembles 57 transactions on the first block of the Genesis block. So, it's very much throwing homage to where inception of Icon, and at the same time distributing funds to community members who will take the time now to create stuff. So look, great initiative. If you haven't read the post, get across it. If you haven't seen the bounties, there are currently 4 bounties up for grabs, with one of them now 7 days away. And you just need to hit submit and send it through. Now, what's also cool, as the bounties finish, they will, and the submissions win, they will host a section on this actual website with the work you've done. So especially if you've uploaded to your YouTube channel and things like that, what a great spot, a central spot for your content to get visibility, especially if it takes out some of the bounties as you win it. So cool initiative.
And I assume if none of the bounties kind of catch your eye or aren't quite in line with your skill set, this isn't like the end all of everything. I mentioned they'll be rolling out more in the future, and obviously once these complete, they'll be replacing with other objectives and things like that. So if none of these are quite up your alley, there will certainly be plenty of other opportunities down the line.
Exactly, and this is the end thing. It'll keep coming through, and as more stuff launches, they'll start giving more opportunities. It won't just be a simple explanation video. It may be an in-depth article to create a new use case, or someone come to the Icon ecosystem, and based on the current DeFi applications, how could you leverage off CPS and the DeFi applications to create a new launchpad? Like we will see bounties like this start to come about, but the first things first is create simple stuff, get used to the idea of creating content and submitting it and getting rewarded, and then hopefully we see, as I said, new blood come in and tackle new things, new concepts, and just start getting it out of the Icon community out to the broader ecosystem, especially the BTP stuff. And I'll give you an example of why I feel this is so important. I have in the background been chasing down communities because I want to find, rather than chase people in those foundations, etc. I thought, let me chase community members like myself and Icongrapher who know a bit about the chain, to bring them on the podcast and introduce Iconists to the chain. And some of the conversations when I go, yep, you're near, for example, I got a hold of a community member that was recommended who does a lot for near, and I told him, yep, you're part of the BTP ecosystem, so this is what we want to do. And he wrote back to me saying, BTP ? What are you talking about? And it's moments like those. It's like, okay, so we need to do more to raise this awareness. If Nia knows, that's great, but if their community aren't aware of it, well, we haven't hit the mark there. So this program is exactly that. We should see those community members who kind of learn of Icon, look at it and go, hey, I do this for Nia, I can kind of get maybe $350. I'll do some research and write a content about Icon 2.0 BTP and submit it. And yeah, so let's hope that's what's happened. Fingers crossed that was the game plan. And let's see what transpires. Okay, I think I could keep talking about this, but yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, and then so just a nice little thing. DeFi Llama has both Ohm and Balanced on them now. So the aggregate, at least when I checked an hour or two ago, we were ranked number 17 with 355 billion. I'm sorry, $1 million of locked value in our ecosystem entirely, and obviously that's just the two chains. I'm sorry, the two platforms. So certainly nice to see. It's some good exposure. I think that DeFi Llama is checked pretty regularly just to kind of see where things are at, and so for us to just kind of be on that radar, and especially in the top 20, certainly some nice promotion there. And it ranks them by total value locked, right? So the total amount of value that's locked in both Ohm and Balance combined is that 355 million number. And so it's a little tricky because a lot of the value on these platforms is locked in the token of the chain, right? So a lot of the value that you're seeing on Balanced and Ohm is in ICX, right? And so as the price of ICX goes up, so does the quote unquote total value locked. So without any context, you would see, over the last week, if you looked at total value locked, you would see it go up, and it might look like, oh wow, they added there are a lot more users coming on or whatever. Whereas more, it's just more the price going up, right? So you see Solana in the top 5 or wherever it is, and obviously it had a pretty significant price run the last few weeks to where I imagine I think it says like 11 billion or something like that. I don't have it in front of me here, but essentially when Solana was trading at $20, that was obviously a lot less total value locked than it is now, just because the token itself was a lot lower. So it's a little bit of a tricky metric, and it kind of like is a self-fulfilling prophecy, because usually people think, oh wow, there's a lot of value locked there, therefore the token is probably going to be valuable. Whereas more, it's like, well, the token already went up in price, which is why the total value locked went up. So obviously the main token doesn't make up 100% of the value locked. Obviously, even on Icon, there's a chunk of stable coins locked and things like that. So it's not 100% that way. But obviously, as the price of the token goes up, so will a good chunk of the total value locked denominated in US dollars. So just something to keep an eye on. But all that said, certainly nice to see us in the top 20 there. Certainly nice to see us kind of in comparison with some of the other chains that are getting a lot of buzz and things like that. And it all kind of circles back to that monologue I had at the beginning of the podcast about how we're becoming more and more of a productive asset, as they say, where simply owning it provides you an opportunity to earn yield on that token.
Yep, I agree. I've had it on screen. Just shout out to Rhizome DAO and Brian for all the hard work they've done to make this possible. They've worked in the background on these integrations so that we are listed on DeFi Llama. So great to see. Hopefully, look, it's great. Price goes up, TVL goes up. So let's hope it just keeps climbing. But that's just with 2. Optimus will bring a new wave of optimizing yield, because that's what it is. But yeah, when you don't have to worry and it's doing it for you, you'll ape in a little bit more. It's just part of what the yield aggregators do to you from a mind sense as well. So yeah, great stuff, and we're trending in the right direction. And obviously, as this TVL keeps going up, we get noticed more, right? So people start to go, okay, well, why is there so much TVL locked here? Let me explore this ecosystem, and then become Iconists for life. That's how it works. Cool. Next up.
So speaking of DeFi, we kind of go through our balance section because, as happens every week, there's basically deserves its own section. So there's a new proposal up that Scott has posted. Basically says the gist of it is, right now, you get all the fees all get paid out in the token that they got generated in, right? So when you go to claim your fees every morning on Balanced, you'll have X% of BNUSD, X% of SICX, X% of OM, X%, there's 6 or 7 of them or something like that. And it's a little, if you're trying to, consolidate things, it's a little bit tedious to move them all into one asset or a couple assets or whatever. So what the proposal says is basically, it'll, in the background before distributing the fees, it'll auto convert everything into basically BALN or BNUSD. And it looks like the proposal got updated to include SICX as well. So instead of having 6 or 7 tokens, you'll end up with 3, being BNUSD, BALN, and SICX. And so obviously this makes things a little cleaner. It also, the theory behind BNUSD and BALN is if people were taking their BALN and using it to provide liquidity, they obviously have the pair already, so they don't, if that's their goal, they don't have to sell any BALN because they're getting BNUSD already. So that kind of theoretically helps the price. And also too, you're basically going to see a chunk of assets get sold in exchange for BALN every day. So it'll put a little bit of a buy pressure on the balance token, which is obviously going to theoretically should be helpful on price, just because it'll be doing all that purchasing on its own and then spitting BALN back out to the holder. So I think even putting aside the price mechanics and the tokenomics, I think just having a couple tokens there instead of a bunch will make things a little bit easier, and again save a little bit of time. And certainly it sounds like on the back end too, it'll make balance a little bit better just because it doesn't have to do as many processes in order to distribute those fees as they are kind of it doesn't have to do it 7 times. It only has to do it 2-3 times. So seems like a good proposal. Everyone seems to be pretty happy with it. I think there were a couple potential suggestions, but I imagine that one will be up for a vote fairly soon here.
I think I love it. Look, honestly, this is indirectly, you called it out perfectly. It's buy pressure on these tokens. And at the end of the day, I don't know, everyone isn't going to be a whale. So it all of a sudden then makes the small stashes of balance that's staked, your daily income starts to look a bit decent. But overall, in the background, if everything else is being sold and balance is being bought, and SICX, that's a good thing. Yep, it's great. So it's indirectly a buyback program and distributing that back into, not into the DAO, but, all the users are getting it. So I love it. I really hope this moves quick. I think my personal view, and this is again not financial advice or anything like that, I see this really helping balance stabilize, given now the distribution is slowing down. There is a bit of DEX activity consistently, and one of the things that will aid with that as well in the background is this auto rerouting that is on the cards as well, which we talked about in our community sessions. But just a quick overview is, at the moment, say you want to swap SICX straight into, that's a terrible example, let's say balance into OHM, you have to go from balance to BNUSD into OHM. You have to go into either SICX or balance and then SICX to OHM. You don't have to do that. You literally just pick the 2 pairs you want. In the background, it will do that automatically. But to be very clear, if currently you have to take 3 steps to go from one to the other, when it's auto routing, it will be 3 steps, 3 transactions. You just won't see it. It'll just bunch them together and do it for you. So smoother user experience all round, and looking forward to that as well. But the 3 fees is brilliant. We should start to see a lot more fees come through in 3 tokens rather than, point something in all the random tokens that keep getting listed. That said, there's no random tokens listed. It's all quality tokens at the moment. But you can see why once we have more, the ability, when the UI gets updated, so any user could list a token. And I've noticed a KFC token floating around on Icon Tracker. Imagine someone's listing that and all of a sudden you're getting KFC token that's fees because people are just, having some fun. You don't want that. So this is a great solution.
And the team did release a updated roadmap as well, kind of summarizing some of the updates that got made in the past month and as well as what's kind of happening in the future. We've been getting these every month, I think, basically since launch. There were, I encourage you to read the whole thing because it's pretty lengthy in a good way, obviously. And, there's even some stuff in there as far as features that have been added that I hadn't even really noticed. But then when I kind of looked for them a little bit, they were all kind of nice additions. And so, making a lot of good progress. I guess I want to highlight a couple that I'm think people are looking forward to. I'm certainly looking forward to, or that are just kind of interesting as far as stuff that's coming out in the future. One of them is DAO financial statements on the stats page. So basically, as I think everyone's aware, there is a DAO fund that helps kind of serve as the operating costs for the platform. And so there will be a page basically saying how that money is getting spent. So I don't know if anyone's out there, stressing out about the DAO money not being spent effectively or anything like that. But being able to see exactly how it's spent, what it's being spent on, and how much, all that other good stuff. That'll be really nice to see. It's a really good transparency gesture from the team, and it certainly help build even further long-term confidence in the project. So looking forward to that. There's also going to be, they hope to launch the ongoing BALN mining rewards on the actual mainnet, meaning they'll essentially go live. And for those of you who have earned Ohm, where basically it accrues on a block by block standpoint, and you can claim it 20 times a day if you want to. Something similar will be happening with the BALN token. So rather than having to wait at 10 a.m. every day to claim, you can claim again throughout the day. So I think people will be pretty excited about that. There will also be testing out new collateral types on testnet. So I think that's something people have been excited about, opportunity to deposit collateral that's not just ICX or SICX. I don't know if it's been discussed what collateral types those will be yet. But I'm certainly looking forward to learning that and seeing that get deployed. We didn't get an exact time frame on that. I'm not sure how long it takes to test out fully, but at least it's on the radar to where it's being listed now. And then also the lowercase b BALN implementation, meaning the kind of the staking proposal that was approved a few weeks ago, where the longer you lock up your balance, the more rewards you can kind of generate from the platform. So that'll be on testnet. That's something that I think they mentioned would take 8-ish weeks or so, just kind of ballpark guess to get done. So still a little bit ways away from that, but that's something that I see some nice momentum on. And again, I would encourage you to read the whole thing because there's a lot more in there than what I highlighted, but I just want to at least pull some of that out there to flag it for everyone.
Yep, I had the page up just a little bit scrolling through. I was a bit slack on the scroll, but definitely big thing is it's on the balance site. There's a blog section now which you saw me go to, so that's where they'll be publishing these updates. And again, a huge shout out to the team for consistently every month delivering a lot of changes and also showing us transparently what is on the cards for the future updates. And we can see now with Ohm out, some of the updates, obviously as Ohm had a bit of time to get a few things upgraded from a contract block by block, things like that. We're seeing the team synergies trying to come together where, what's worked there, they're going to bring across a balance. And I'm guessing the forums and things like that has already been built for balance now should be a quick transition over to Ohm so that governance can kick off over there as well. Because I know everyone like me is aching for BNUSD to become more relevant in the Icon ecosystem, because that is really truly are decentralized stablecoin. So keen to see all of that come to fruition, and what a great update it's been. And when I upload the sessions as well across the weekend, definitely tune in to hear Scott's thoughts. We talk a bit more because one of the big things that got rolled out as well was the rebalancing. We know there's been substantial changes to the rebalancing, and Scott talks about how it's gone, and also discusses that peg issue we have with BNUSD, where at the moment it's floating, I believe, at a 5% variation compared to, we want to bring it in tighter. So we all actually spoke out loud on thoughts on what could happen there, and it's great to hear Scott think during those sessions as well, where he may have a predetermined solution, but through conversation, he takes everyone's feedback on board, and almost it's like back to the drawing board to see can any of that be incorporated into the solution moving forward. So, and that's what we kind of want, right? It's very much someone who's engaging with the community and taking on that feedback and incorporating it. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. But great update. Let's keep moving. What have we got next? Oh, is there anything else?
Well, on the topic of rebalancing, there's actually a Rhizome is working, particularly, Andrew Burns, who's our developer for MetrICX, working on a notification, push notification for the app where it'll tell you if your loan got rebalanced. So obviously, for those who don't like getting rebalanced because it sells your SICX for BNUSD, you can have that app, and if you get a notification, you can go to your computer and just rebuy that SICX just so you're good to go. And that'll be something where it'll be a premium notification, which doesn't mean you have to pay for it, but it does mean that there has to be votes allocated for Rhizome and DevShack, who is also helping out with this with the application in order to receive them. So not a huge burden, but obviously a nice way to kind of provide payment or compensation for a kind of an added feature. And I think a lot of people are already voting for Rhizome, so not a big deal. You're all good to go. But it looks like for those who want that feature, there will be that requirement. I'm interested. I'm wondering how they do that technically, nonetheless, it'd be interesting, and something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, look, agree, and I'll really call out here. So we've seen Rhizome, Andrew, MetrICX. We've put through like a maintenance costs for the app. In CPS now, a few people have raised, and Andrew addressed this really well. While we're working on V3, which is completely different and a lot of work required there, the guys are still constantly 80% off their not free time, because they still have day jobs. 80% of the not free time is still working on the mobile app, making sure that all the dApps that are coming out, the metrics and stuff, are displayed in the app currently. This is without any extra funding or anything like that. And remember, this is a free app, so they're not generating any income from this. So one of the things to keep in mind is they are putting a lot of work in, and this is a great solution, because Rhizome, as you know, the DAO, what Brian did with the DAO was created it to encourage any community members who wants to join the DAO and actually help. So for example, this bounty program that's kicking off, you could do it individually or via the DAO. We could have in the Rhizome DAO focus on a particular bounty, and if we had content creators and etc. people come together with different skill sets and really help create great content and get rewarded for it. But the other aspect is Brian designed it that to be part of the DAO, you only have to have a portion of votes. So it's not being greedy and saying to be here you have to have everything to Rhizome. No, we understand it is, P-reps, the choice is yours, and really ideally should be splitting your votes to different areas where you're supporting people who are doing good for the ecosystem. And in this case, yes, a percentage of your votes nominated to Rhizome DAO, and then automatically you will also get these premium features in the MetrICX app, which is a great solution because it helps the guys with all their hard work, and especially DevShack, who isn't a top 22 P rep and is always doing a lot of work on this app and MetrICX V3. So I actually love this, the way they've intertwined it into the voting aspect. And the only challenge, I guess, one aspect will be if you're redelegating SICX via Ohm. I'll be interested to see how that will work. I haven't spoken to Andrew since this announcement, so at the moment, I don't know, so I can't comment, but that will be interesting. I can graph how they get that to work, because a lot of people have, since Ohm kicked off, been redelegating, because a lot of people now don't have your ICX traditionally staked. They're using the DeFi protocols. So with Balance, we knew it just defaulted to the builders. In this case, with Ohm, it enabled users to actually pick their votes. So and a lot of people have been redelegating to Rhizome, IAM, IconBet, which is great to see. So how they solution that, we'll have an update soon. surely. But yeah, great update.
So, as we kind of alluded to Optimus a little earlier, over the last week or so, we were aware of the project. We had some information on it, but they hadn't been super active. But it looks like they're starting to roll out and gear up some marketing efforts, starting to spread awareness, kind of build some anticipation for what potentially could be the next DeFi protocol to launch. There is they have a website. Right now, it kind of links to the Git book, basically kind of explaining how the protocol works, tokenomics, all that other good stuff. So if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a yield aggregator, meaning there's a lot of these that exist on other blockchains, primarily Ethereum. Basically, you can deposit your capital and kind of give it direction, and it will automatically interact with either balanced or ohm in order to maximize the yield. So if it's if the most profits available via serving as an LP in a certain pool, it'll do that, and then all of a sudden, if that changes, it'll move your assets around. So it's hard to tell exactly how many different strategies you'll be allowed to kind of deploy with it off the bat. I know Fez got a little bit of a sneak preview. If you want, I don't know if he wants to talk about that
I
at
got
all.
I
But
got some alpha. Yeah, totally.
yeah, yeah. So certainly nice to see that starting to build up, roll out. Usually we see this where when projects are getting closer to starting to launch, they obviously want to build some more awareness and community participation, all that other good stuff. So looks like they're on a good pace, on a good track, and certainly excited to see more content from them.
Yeah, look, it's great. They've had this ready. Obviously, you can't have a yield aggregator without any kind of DApps around to aggregate. So,
Right.
but look, they'll launch with a couple of strategies. Now, I think one thing I should be very clear. I have caught up with the team. I have been shown the DApp. It is brilliant. And why it's brilliant is because it's so simple. And it really sticks to the ethos that we've created in the Icon ecosystem. One other aspect that I loved is, apart from building the core and a couple of strategies to launch with it, everything else they are going to look to the community to drive. And it's kind of that Y-earn. So if you weren't aware, one of the great features about Y-earn was community members could create strategies, yield strategies, and then document it and put it in forums, and they would get voted on, and then based on this, if it got voted in, the team would then build the strategy, and the community who had created would get a percentage, in terms of their components from a distribution, etc., that they would be rewarded for that kind of activity. And it looks like the team's very big on, and they're still confirming, so this is not all locked in, but they're very big on encouraging that kind of behavior. So they don't want to just create strategies and roll them out. They're looking to the community to go, okay, what can we build next, and what do you want? And it gets voted, and whoever creates it, there's some kind of reward for the hard work that the members have put in, which I just love hearing about. And this was coming from the tech lead, so very much that has been built from ground up. What we will see launching is balance support initially. Keep in mind, one of the things I was talking to Icongrapher about, we're in a very tough spot at the moment. And when I mean we, I mean all the teams, because we are so close now to Icon 2.0. So we've kind of got this, at some point, everything has to stop to really migrate and kick off the new chain. And until then, Icon 1 still has any new contract that gets built needs to go through an audit process from the foundation before it gets approved to get, put on mainnet. Icon 2.0 stops this. They can then start deploying a lot quicker. But at some point, everything has to stop for the transition. And I feel in my conversation, not just with Optimus, but with various other teams, everyone's at that point at the moment. It's kind of hit, okay, we're waiting for that finalized testing, which means, can we get our smart contracts reviewed to enter Icon 1.0, or will we migrate and then just push to Icon 2.0. So a lot of teams are feeling that, and probably that's why the news has not been as much in the forefront, going, we're launching this date, this much, because they're all trying to just see where it all lines up. But overall, Optimus is done. I think a couple of the strategies they're going to launch with is one is a self-managing borrow BNUSD strategy, so you don't have to worry about liquidation. Essentially, the aggregation component is it's aggregating the balance rewards for taking a loan, but at the same time it'll automatically pay down the loan if the market suddenly drops, so you don't have to wake up 3 in the morning and run to your computer and go, oh my god, am I going to get liquidated? So which is a fantastic strategy. I know personally I'll utilize it, and I'm sure everyone would. And one of the other strategies that I know that will be on the cards to launch with is, and I've actually got on the page, you can see it, they've clearly highlighted it for everyone to see, it is the SICX ICX pool. So we know currently you put ICX in that pool, you earn balance as rewards, and after some random period of time, based on what's going on, your ICX turns to SICX, because naturally someone's tried to swap instantly and your ICX is provided. So what this strategy will do is automatically, if your ICX has been swapped to SICX, it'll kick off as soon as that happens. It'll kick off the unstaking period and then bring it back into the pool automatically, so you don't have to manage that component. One of the big things when talking to the team, these two particular strategies, in no circumstances will the user suffer any loss, and that's how these two strategies have been designed. So the SICX ICX pool will not use the 1% fee and pay the fee and you suffer a loss to get back into the pool. It won't work that way. It will always ensure you are in the positive. So that's a bit about it. Hopefully that's made sense. Think of it as it's just automating the entire process for you. Something that probably people have been vocal or thinking a bot, someone build a bot, but this is indirectly kind of like a bot, but it's optimizing you, making sure it optimizes and earns you rewards the best way possible based on market conditions. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Very nice. And then just another kind of a little bit of lighter note. Icon DAO, they're putting together, they put together some classes on building on Icon to help kind of further grow and cultivate the developer community. And their students are already kind of deploying some various applications on Icon. They're nothing super over the top or elaborate or anything like that, but they've learned enough in order to start at least kind of getting the initial experience down and learning how to do that. So nice to know that there's a crop of budding developers kind of waiting and should hopefully should be building almost not full time, but spending a lot of time building on Icon in the near future. So very good initiative by them. Good to see them doing that, and glad it's paying off.
Yeah, look, I want to say sorry to Icon DAO. I know I was quite vocal. I remember when they went for funding. I was very big. Why aren't we doing hackathons? And they had reached out and said, they have tried. It hasn't been successful. What they have noticed was successful was when they were getting into unis and doing this and getting attracting talent that way had proved to be very successful. And I remember at the time, I was like, come on. I wasn't too pleased. I may have vented to you, Icongrapher, but when I saw this tweet, I was humble. It was refreshing to be called, well, I was a tool to think that way. No, they're definitely on the right track. It just goes to show what the students are creating. It was just cool to see, this is all happening in the background. And it was great that they actually put a bit of light onto it, because you wouldn't know otherwise, but this is quite creative and cool. Yeah, good call out.
And then just kind of as a side discussion, I guess, for those who follow crypto and are aware of things, and even if not super close, it's probably something that might have bumped up to your radar. But Solana, which is obviously kind of among the most hyped change right now. It's been getting hyped for a few months now, kind of being, some people kind of portray it as a potential Ethereum killer and things like that. It saw some fairly significant downtime about a day and a half ago from when we're recording this. Basically, the network got essentially spammed with thousands of, if not hundreds of thousands of transactions, and it basically stopped the network. It was there weren't any transactions for a few hours. They had to kind of reset things and everything like that. And so there was a lot of talk, leading, beforehand. Everyone kind of talked about how cutting edge Solana is and how fast it is and all that other good stuff. And not to take shots at Solana, because this has happened to basically every chain out there at some point. It's had some sort of issue, whether it's downtime or potential vulnerabilities or whatever else it might be. But just want to highlight it because it's one of those things where we've seen something happen on another chain before, and usually not a good thing. And we kind of say, oh shoot, like is that something that can happen on Icon or Icon 2.0, or does Icon 2.0 prevent this or whatever it is? And so, they've always talked about the trilemma. I mean, this is something Vitalik brought up regarding Ethereum. You basically have three things. You have security, you have speed, and you have decentralization. And it's hard to do all three just because there's trade-offs and everything. And so this is kind of another situation where whenever you hear something solves all three, you should be skeptical, because usually a trade-off has to get made somewhere. Obviously, some can do improvements in other places, but the kind of one of the knocks about Solana is it's certainly not as decentralized as Ethereum. So that's kind of what it's sacrificing in order to pick up speed and some security. But in this case, what happened is the fees were basically too low, and there was no way to deter this sort of attack, right? So if it's really expensive to do this sort of a transaction spamming attack, then nobody's going to want to do it, right? Unless they have a really clear motive, or at least a way to make profit, which usually is going to be the case. And so that's why the low transaction fees is a bit of a double-edged sword, because obviously it's nice that people don't have to pay a lot, but the other side of it is it makes it easier for the network to get attacked in this way. And so, as much as people joke about how ridiculous the fees on Ethereum are, at the end of the day, you can't really attack Ethereum that way, because it would be ungodly expensive. And also, too, even if obviously it gets expensive, but there's still a way to operate the network, right? You just have to pay a bit more. Whereas in Solana's case, it didn't matter how much money you had, you were locked out of the network for 6 hours because it went down. And obviously, if there's a lot of DeFi running, if there's a price crash or something, and the oracles get all screwed up because the chain went down, that can have a lot of ramifications. So, I think I brought this up to Scott in the community session when you have a chance to listen to it, and he basically, he basically recognized the trade-off of, you have to have a fee structure that makes it so it doesn't make sense in order to try to do one of those attacks. So, and we talked about Icon 2.0, and how basically there's going to be the more complex transactions, they're going to be a little more expensive and take a bit longer, and longer meaning still very, very, very fast, just longer than a more simple transaction. So it's something obviously people are aware of, people have thought about, certainly in the Icon 2.0 world. So I just wanted to kind of touch upon that topic, because it was something I was a little bit interested in and got some clarity on. And I guess just a reminder, there's no perfect blockchain out there that could solve everything. There's always going to be trade-offs somewhere. And so, some do it better than others. But ultimately, if something's hyper cheap, it could be a problem. I believe it was EOS that was basically had free transactions essentially, and went through something pretty similar as far as just got inundated with transactions, and it kind of broke the chain. So just something to think about. And again, it seems like Icon 2.0 doesn't solve anything, but they've learned a lot from other blockchains, and are building it in a way that prevents these types of things from happening as much as possible.
Yeah, look, I think I congratulate. Let's be real here. We know Icon has had an attack in the past, and obviously when something like that's happened,
it's also had downtime too. So it's not like I said, no chain is immune. There were times where, especially once the network first launched and decentralization was going underway, where it would for 1 or 2 hours, no transactions would go through. That hasn't happened in a while. But it's like I said, no chain is immune to having these sorts of issues, and it's not the end of the world. But obviously, the less it happens, the more ideal.
Exactly. And the earlier it happens, even better, because, you
Right.
want to kind of nut that out. I mean, look, a month ago, 2 months ago, one of the major banks in Australia, it went down. No one could access their money for hours, quite a few hours. And it was all the uproar, but funds were still safe. In this case, yes, something happened. As long as funds are still safe and all the data is still on the chain, well, there's nothing to worry about. It's how they handle it and recover. It's part of the process. We are an emerging technology. You know, it's not like blockchain has been around for 50 years and it's just perfect. I don't know why I said perfect like that. But coming back to as well Ethereum, like even Ethereum in the early days, there was that famous big hack, remember? And that's why we've got Ethereum Classic and Ethereum now, because they rolled back the chain to remove the party that stole all those funds. So part of one of the initial DAOs. So look, it happens, and it's not like I'm a Solana bag holder. It's more just putting perspective on it. At the end of the day, BTP is what Icon's about. So really, we want all the chains to be successful, and particularly the big chains that have a lot of users, we want them to integrate BTP. So I think it's a great call out, Icongraph. It's very important to understand what has happened and then put perspective on it, and not jump to a conclusion, well, if this can happen, then we're all doomed. No, it's just part and parcel of growing up.
Yep.
I think that's it, Icongrapher.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, quite a lot of news, and I'm sure typical. As soon as we finish and drop this episode, there'll be some major news that drops. But overall, coming back, bounties. If you have taken away anything, there's 7 days for the first bounty to where you win $350 first prize, $100 second prize, $50 first third prize. So if you're listening to this and haven't heard of it, I'll have the link in the site, in the show notes. Go read what the bounty is, and if you know someone or you can do it yourself, start creating. Let's do this. Let's show the foundation, who have listened to community feedback. Believe me, this was community driven to them, suggested to them. They've taken it on board and created an entire program around it. Now the final step is the community really needs to step in, and I'm talking new community members. So yes, as Icongrapher called it, I could make videos, Icongrapher could start writing content, Brian could keep writing content, but that defeats the purpose, doesn't it? We need new blood. So if you're sitting there listening to this podcast and my inspirational speech has got you off your couch going, yes, I'm going to do what Fez said, please do. Go make the content, submit it, and hopefully you win that money. As always, thank you everyone for listening. Like, subscribe, share this podcast. I can't tell you how often I have conversations these days, and I'm very humbled by it, where people say they've been listening to Icon and that's what got them into Icon. That is fantastic. And as a reminder, though, we don't offer financial advice or any suggesting anyone to buy anything. It is just our research and our views, sharing what is going on in the Icon ecosystem. So always keep that in mind. But at the same time, we're always happy to welcome all new Iconists who find Icon thanks to the podcast, which is the ultimate goal, isn't it, Icongrapher? That means we're doing something right here.
Yep. Otherwise, we'd just be talking to ourselves.
Oh, cool. Okay, everyone. Look, thank you. Take care. Until next time.
See ya.